Stewart, Port, as they've done all night, find a way to stand in front of the Saints and say, not on our watch. Port Adelaide, 4 straight, and in the AFLW Final 8, after 8 weeks, they defeat the Saints by 15 points.
Hello and welcome to the CREEDCAST. This is the podcast about the Port Adelaide AFLW football team that has won 4 on the bounce and is sitting in the top 8 with just 2 weeks to go of the season. My name is Dave and thank you as always for joining us. We'll get right into it because there's another fantastic night at Alberton. We've had 2 Alberton nights in the last couple of weeks, which has been really wonderful. Jamie and I were down there at both of them, standing in what has become a customary spot since I think we've stood in the same spot for every game we've been there for. But yeah, a great night as Port Adelaide really just shot out of the blocks beautifully before ending up winning 7-5, 47 to 5-2, 32. A scoreline that somewhat flatters St Kilda in the end because they just nabbed a couple of late ones, but it was never really a contest that looks as close as that. 5-1 in the first quarter, we said on the night. Really just showed the difference between taking your opportunities and you can essentially almost win the game early with the way that the AFLW is played at the moment if you have a good sound game plan and take your opportunities early. So, Jamie, it was wonderful. We said it was going to be a litmus test, being that St Kilda are sitting just above us. So they were sitting in 8th. We were in 9th going into the weekend, and now we passed the test in pretty, really impressive fashion.
Yeah, hello, and hello to everyone listening. It was one of the more enjoyable first quarters of AFLW football that we've had the pleasure to watch, live or otherwise. I guess it does show the importance of starting well because the opposition haven't had the opportunity to react to what you're doing yet, so you might as well put some score on the board, particularly when we're winning the toss and kicking with the breeze, which also seems to be customary at Alberton Oval. Just that cross breeze has seemed to play a part in a lot of the games we've played there this season. Mm-hmm. And we took full advantage of it and blew them out of the water. So then you can kind of go to work for the other 3 and go to work, putting it lightly. It was heavily contested and they didn't relent for the 4 quarters.
Yeah. Some of the stats are really, really impressive. We had more of the ball in this game than they did as well, St Kilda, which is something that we've kind of been winning games lately with not possessing as much of the ball. But this one we kind of dominated in a few of the statistical areas that we have been over the last few weeks, but we actually just had more of the ball as well. Probably the most impressive first goal. I was trying to think back to different, obviously we haven't had too many wins yet in our full spectrum of history. I mean, this year with 5 wins, we've already got more wins this season than we did in our first 2 seasons combined. So, and all that stuff. And, we win at least one of the last 2, then we're guaranteeing a better than 50% win record for the season. So knock on wood there. But we're hopeful for the next 2 weeks for sure. But one of the best first quarters, I think, just with the opposition. You can look back to the Sydney one where we won our first game, and maybe Western Bulldogs as well, but this game being St Kilda where they were. I know, I think we were chatting to Dave, friend of the pod, Dave Lloyd, afterwards. He was kind of saying, St Kilda have dropped off and they played 4 games in 18 days or something like that, some ridiculous number.
I mean, if that's not right, it's very similar to that, which is still a lot of football in a short span of time. We kind of finished off our run a bit earlier than they did in terms of condensed games. Plus, I guess we keep backing up the fact that we've gotten fitter. St Kilda were more underdone in this game. To be fair to them, they still put up a contest for 3 quarters. It's just we took full advantage of the first quarter, like we were saying before.
Yeah, which is we said on the night as well, as kind of stark contrast to the week before where we dominated Collingwood, but kicked 1 goal 6 to their 0 goals 2. so didn't get the reward
Yes.
for the pressure, and then that became a bit of a contest with Collingwood leading at halftime after they got a little bit of a run on.
Yeah.
If we just kicked 6-1 or 5-2 or what we said last week, we would have had that game halfway put to bed. But yeah, this game really just showed it's the same in AFL men's as well. We see it all the time when you don't take opportunities when you've got the pressure on and give the opposition a chance to respond with a lesser deficit than what it should be. But yeah, this one was wonderful, and just some great goals in there as well. You've got Abby Darrick,
Yeah. Not
snapping them
short of
from everywhere.
highlights.
Yeah, yeah. I think you and I again were looking at each other on the night, going, "Well, that's a Sweeney. That's a goal. That's a goal of the week." Nominations are here and there and everywhere. So, yeah, it was wonderful. I think it was the um it was noticeable early. I think the first centre clearance, as I stumble over my words. Sorry, I was saying to Jamie off air, I've had a knackered weekend. So if I do seem a little bit just scatterbrained tonight, to everyone listening, I apologise. We're recording this on Monday night. And yeah, I've worked all weekend to cover for some people and had a old school friends catch up that went way too late on Saturday night in between everything. So I'm still recovering. But what I was trying to get to, as my scatterbrain was trying to tick the gears along like the little monkey in Homer's brain. Matilda Scholz, straight out of the first contest, I think I'd looked at you and said, "Geez, she's on." And obviously we can talk about her a fair bit, but she,
Ominous signs
yeah,
early.
just the burst forward from her, and getting that first inside 50, and then there was plenty more of it from that. But that kind of set the tone.
Yeah,
Particularly as we've talked about it, there was a few weeks there where slow starts was a bit of a concern for us. Last week
absolutely.
we were good, but obviously missed our opportunities. But again, this week there seems like they've. It's nice seeing the development in, there's another big development thing to come up after this. But first of all, just talking about the start, just it was a thing for a few weeks, and they said they were working on it. Now I've seen the last couple of weeks, scoring aside against Collingwood, the pressure and intent from the start has been a lot better. So there's things that they're saying they're going to work on, and that working on and developing and all these things, and you're just seeing the fruits of that labor, which is really, really, I'm really
Yeah,
enjoying
then it
that.
happens right in front of you.
Yeah, right in front of me.
Right in front of me, yeah. I mean, but yeah, we are seeing it real time. It's nice when words are backed up by actions. And for me, in that first quarter in particular, it was a team that knew they had an opportunity to take a spot in the 8 off of their direct opposition. The intensity, the efficiency going forward. Someone made a comment of the amount of talk between the players on field in real time, just making sure everyone's locked in and in position. That was at a much higher degree than what we've seen. And yeah, it was a team looking to nab that spot, knowing that it's all there for them afterwards if they tick that box. And yeah, it was electric. Just one of the more enjoyable quarters of football in general I've watched this year. It's all in context,
Absolutely.
of course, but yeah, vibes were good. Weather was good. There was a good crowd. Yeah, and the girls are coming off a run that we probably couldn't have expected coming into the season. And we're in the midst of it, which is fantastic. Seeing all this improvement, so many young guns, and just scattered around the field. It's yeah, it's an enjoyable thing to watch.
Yeah, yeah. It's the thing you're talking about, the talk around the field. You're just seeing a lot of these young ones because these first couple of years and even early, at points this season, I'm sure it'll happen again at times because we're still very, very young and there's still a lot of growth and development to come. There's should always caveat it with that. These things, development's never like a linear straight line, pointing upward. Sometimes there's dips and troughs, but then it keeps going up eventually. But the first couple of years, you've just seen there's a lot of deer in headlights stuff from sometimes in when a game they just kind of very reactive at times, and whereas you could just seen this at the start of the year, they looked like there was the bones of it, but yeah, this game in particular, and I've noticed, I've mentioned it to you when we've been there as well, just the drive of the legs forward, just with purpose and intent, handballs and kicks, and not looking around for the option. They kind of know it's like it's starting to become innate in their gameplay now. Like the game
Hmm.
plan is starting to really entrench itself within them, and rather than getting the ball and thinking, "Oh, what have I got to do now?" They've got the ball, and it's just like it's a instinct now, which is really, that's what you want to get to, is what we, instinctive football and understanding the game plan so
Hmm.
well.
Yeah.
There's still moments, but it's just there's a lot more drive and intent to go forward and play like some of those teams that we've come up against in the early years, where we could really see the golf in talent and development. You're just starting to see those little roots of it. The one thing I loved about this game, and the stats are really really nice. Marks for the game 44.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
How
the
good.
first thing I looked at
Yeah. Well,
afterwards. Because, I mean, you even commented on it while we were there. It's like, fuck, we're marking a lot. Like, we're sticking our marks a lot. And
mhm.
yeah, it was like that for the whole game. Obviously, more weighted towards the periods we were scoring more. Um, Watching the replay, looking at the stats, yeah, you're just like, yep, checks out,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Like, it just shows how much better our game looks when we're creating chains of possession, which marks help with, of
Mhm.
course. So, yeah, I love
Yeah.
that one, and we smashed it as far as I remember.
40,
Um,
yeah, 40,
oh,
43.
I mean, plus 11, but smashed it in regards to our season average.
Well, and their season average is 45, so there's a plus 19
Yeah.
advantage they have if we're just going purely on average, and we flipped it to plus 11 our way. So having more of the ball helps, I guess, that aspect of it as well. We had plus 26 on disposals, which is again, we slightly flipped the script on that, because they do average a few more, we average a few less. So little things like that. It was nice, because that's the one thing we've probably noticed over the last few weeks, is we just haven't had as much of the ball, but our intent and drive has been really good, so that's helped. But then, against Collingwood, the marking made it. Collingwood were marking the ball better, so that's what kind of started
Hmm.
evening it up. Once Collingwood got themselves into the game, we just couldn't mark a ball to save our lives at times, until obviously Matilda started taking a few nice grabs. But
Yeah.
which, by the way, a negative shout out to fans voting on Mark of the Year.
Oh,
Fucking
yeah, come on,
Jesus
everyone.
fucking Christ.
Jeez. Yeah, in a popularity contest, which it is in
Yeah.
essence. Yeah, you gotta make sure the popular like vibe vote gets backed up with literal votes.
hmm Yeah. I think I looked at
Yeah, everyone knows what the mark of the round was, so yeah,
who, who
whatever.
who took a good mark this one. We didn't
Ash
we.
Saint.
That's right. And we looked
Yeah,
at each
she's
other
been
straight away.
nominated as well.
There we go. We need to get the vote on for that one.
Yeah.
Because we looked at each other straight away and said that was better than Body Too Good. We're not shitting on Body
Yeah,
Too Good, by the
you
way.
shouted it.
Yeah, that's right. Um, yeah, not shitting on Bonnie Too Good at all, by the way. It's just, yeah, it is a bit ridiculous. I think I even said to you, I was like, the first mark Matilda took was better. But anyway,
Yes.
at least get
Yes.
around and vote for our Saints, and I hope the AFLW system has some way of making sure that Matilda still gets in there somehow,
Yeah.
like a yeah, like a clerical error. We need this one in there. But yeah, marking across the inside 50 marks were pretty even. We shaded that. Contested marks pretty even, but we shaded
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah. Took the
So
advantage.
all those areas, but the around the ground marking is really what we've been, as you said, it's been what's missing from the game, and as far as making our link up possession and chains of possession and ability to go from defensive 50 when we need to our forward 50, or just take those intercept marks or marks and get the ball going back when the opposition's trying to exit their defensive zone. And we did all of that really well. There's a lot of players contributing. A shout out to Shanae Goody. I know we'll probably get to her, but I just wanted to bring it up while we're talking about it. She took 11 marks for the game.
Yeah, nah, I'm not going to talk about her again. I don't know what you're on about.
I
No, it
know,
was
I am.
ridiculous. Yeah, she
Yeah.
epitomized everything we've been asking for. I mean,
Mhm.
taking a quarter of your team's marked definitely help. Help put your
Yeah.
name in lights, that's for sure.
Mm.
But yeah, great effort. Definitely, we've spoken again about again should I say. But one stat we did lose was the tackles, which I found very interesting. And it was even commented on across the commentary as the game wore on. They just clipped us for tackles, but as the commentator said, and great call by Abby Holmes and Nigel Carmody, by the way, the tackles stat didn't tell the true story. Like, we just seemed so much more ferocious for more of the game. And like they said as well, in critical positions of the game or the field where we were putting on the most tackling pressure versus, they racked up 87 to our 86. Probably because we had more of the ball too. I thought that was interesting because you would have thought watching the game before looking at the stats that we would have dwarfed them.
Particularly the intent we went into the game with too. You take the
just the eye test would tell you that that stat would hurt a little bit, which I thought was interesting because I loved our tackling pressure for the whole game.
Found it,
albeit not a stat win, funnily enough.
Yeah, it tackles in so 50. We smashed it 24-6, which is wild. But I know. It shows. It's interesting when you compartmentalize because I was surprised when I saw that.
Because it's such a territory game, women's football, the AFLW. It just you can tell where the ball was for a large portion of the game.
I find it interesting to compartmentalize that us slightly losing the overall tackles with us massively losing the free kick count. Because the only thing I would have been like, if we had 20 or 30 more tackles, I would have been like, well, that's where the free kick count was a bit ridiculous on the night. And it's actually, I can't remember. I know at one point you or someone else, there was some random fan that we were chatting with a bit, mostly you because he was on your side, but one of you came back from the bathroom at one point and mentioned the free kick count on the TV at the time. And it was even worse than the 23-11 that it's worked out to be in the end in favour of St Kilda, obviously. I know I don't have much recollection of individual moments of free kicks because I haven't gotten a replay in, by the way. That's my busy weekend, but I have a fair good recollection of the overall game from the night. But there's a few, but that to me is again just a ridiculous. We seem to be punished. There was a few ridiculous calls as far as the muscling out stuff and whatnot, and then there's ridiculous calls. They get less leeway than the men do, which I feel like is
in some occasions, absolutely.
Yeah. Some of the holding the ball ones,
very quick whistles some of the time.
And I feel like if we're trying to talk about the women's game as it's still in a developmental thing, if anything, there should be. But I don't know if you want to. But if you want to lock
the umpires, to be fair, are a lower standard. On average as well. So that's where it's more. I think it's the inconsistency within game. Look,
there was
to play devil's advocate. I think due to our intensity and ferocity, I think we were a little overzealous sometimes.
There was a few highs.
Our defensive efforts, but just drawing out from that a little bit, there did seem to be some inconsistencies across the night, and the home crowd with such a discrepancy. Really feeling hard done by and vocalizing that, as you would imagine, down at Alberton. It's not supposed to be that hard to watch an umpiring performance, but far out.
Yeah, and that's why I thought the tackle count just interesting. When you look at it, because I thought it would have been far more. Just more. I mean, our eye test on the night was that our pressure was incredible, and it was. That doesn't take away from it. I think it's just the tackle count being so even, and then the free kick count having such a discrepancy. And on the night, we did just note there was a few times when there was a few tackles they got, just different things that they got in moments that we didn't. So
or even headbutting Emily Borg's knees gets you a free kick. I just scrolled past that on my phone. And that was early. But I think as well as that is we seemed hard done by in the Collingwood game. and it
Yeah,
was very fresh in everyone's memories. And then it just kept it's like 8 quarters back to back in our minds, just getting the raw end of the deal.
I did scream out at one point when I realised one of the umpires was the same as one from the Collingwood game. I said, "Oh no, it's this motherfucker again," or something like that. Um, so yeah, not wanting to, the umpires, it's a tough job and whatever, but yeah, we do, this is why there is frustration out there, is because you want to just see some consistency, in particular, you want to see football teams playing good, hard but fair football. Like this Port team, it plays a
Yeah,
really good brand of hard, intense football, but it's fair football. Um, and it just feels like it doesn't
I
get.
think I like that about AFLW in its current iteration. Like, it's a different style of game.
Mm,
It's much more contested because it is like there's less territory per kick, and therefore it's in a lot more contested situations. There is a bit of
mm,
grouping, of course, but yeah, like I said last week, I watched sport for a contest, and scoring is just a method of winning or losing.
yeah.
So yeah. So I'm really enjoying the contested facets of it. Like it's footy, and this style of footy is contested, and I really enjoy that.
Hmm.
Plus, scoring is up, which is a bonus, like
Yeah.
year on year.
Yeah. I mean, we've been scoring at a nice. I feel like we've been scoring at a nice clip.
As
Yeah.
do I. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've
And
got weapons, which definitely helps.
yeah.
Yeah, and we're learning how to use them, which I think is good. And you were talking about game plan
Mm,
earlier, or like the innate ability to just understand the game plan in real time and what you need to do uh, in each moment. And we do play a fairly simple offensive game. It is a very surge
yeah.
game plan, a surge strategy. So it's fairly easy because then like I said, if it does get in a contested situation, our one wood is pressure and contests, which the stats back that up across, yeah, the season thus far. So
Mm,
if you're just trying to get it forward as much as possible and then relying on your contested game, which is going to win more often than not, based on the statistics, like, yeah, it makes it all just easier to flow.
yeah.
And then particularly with a rise in disposal efficiency and marks, like we mentioned a couple of times. So they seem to be like the upward trajectory is coming at the right time
Mm,
as well, which is promising. Like, do we have better football in us, or like, are we going to plateau at some stage? And like, you know, finals in the context of this side is the pass
mm,
for me. But are they
yeah.
capable of a little bit more, provided that all of our best players are healthy come
Mm,
finals time, if we make it?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, speaking, I guess it's a good segue to the air was probably taken out of the night a little bit, I think, for both of us when Matilda went off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Panicking. I
Yeah.
don't think we're alone in that basket either.
No, no. Yeah.
One of the most spoken about things all of a sudden in about, yeah, half an hour to an hour to 2 hours for the rest of the
Yeah.
night.
We, I think I was in, funny, it just seems Matilda has moments when either of us are just in, like, using the facilities because,
Outside, yeah, yeah,
yeah, last
yeah.
week you were inside, when she took the mark, and then this week I've come out from, yeah, relieving myself in the bathroom and then grabbing another round, and then I've come out and she's on the sideline getting her knee worked on, and looked at you and said, "What the fuck happened?" Like, what?
Yeah, and what made it worse is that I didn't even see what I was like, I don't know. I don't know. It was made it 10 times worse. I was like, I think
Yeah.
there was like, yeah, clash of knees or something. I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I was like, I spent the next probably 5 minutes, probably more watching because we just were from our vantage point. We kind of see the bench pretty well, and I was kind of watching her, and they're working on her, and she's got her hands on her face, and I'm like, oh, she doesn't. I'm
Oh yeah.
doing body
She looked in a
language.
bad way. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I managed to watch the replay, and
Hmm.
they obviously spent a lot of time on her after that happened, and
Mm.
she looked in agony
Yeah.
at one point in time, and you just go, oh, they're like players don't look in that way very often if it's nothing to worry about in the end. Like, yeah, and I'm just so skeptical until we see that injury report. Like, I'm still not okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Port needs to start getting the injury reports out on a Monday. I know that Monday's the day probably for a lot more medical stuff because of the weekend and all that. But I really want to see medical reports ASAP. Yeah, but so it was interesting though because after the game we obviously popped up to the precinct for the post game stuff, and yeah, shout out to Dave Lloyd again and Andrea from Twitter as well. We saw both of them up there, and both great Port people, so it was good to catch up with them. But
I believe it was Andrea's birthday too over the weekend. It might have even been that night. So,
okay, happy birthday to Andrea.
if I'm right, happy birthday as well.
If we're wrong, then like just pop it in the bag for whenever the birthday.
But yeah, we'll clip that up and we'll resend it to you.
But yeah, we popped in for the post game Q&A stuff, and they had her up there, and she seemed like she didn't have any ice on the knee. She didn't have anything on the knee at that point. I think that's correct.
Yeah, because I was trying to think about it afterwards. Because she didn't have ice, and then she did have ice, and then I was like, and then did she not have ice in the end?
I don't think she had anything on
like
there
right at the end. Yeah,
the post game stuff. Yeah, upstairs she was good. Well, at least she looked. There's nothing on the knee, and then she suggested when they asked her, she said, "I'm going to be."
Went down the stairs a little bit gingerly.
Well, yeah. I mean, I go down the stairs gingerly just because I'm 36. But...
She's 19 though. Yeah.
But she did just play a game of footy, so either way.
Yeah, true. She did say that I think there's been some bruising in there prior.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, she does.
She's a ruck.
Yeah, knees forward and all that. But yeah, so she suggested she'd be right. And then I sent you, I can't remember who was it. I think it was Gemma's story on the Sunday. They were in Saturday or the Sunday. They were in the club doing some work, and it was just they had, I can't remember what they had big head cutouts of other players, but Matilda was one of them, and she had just the the kind of beige compression bandage.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
nothing major like that. And she was in there in training kit, so I assume she was maybe doing a light workout or something like that. I don't know exactly what they were doing in there, but
yeah, usually if it's an ACL, do they keep you on crutches? I know they do immediately after, but
yeah,
I don't know how long they
get
you to take weight off it. So
yeah, you are pretty sore afterwards, and your knee's not moving very well either with an ACL. In the immediate aftermath. I mean, you can do. Yeah, I just, to me that looks like they've already figured out it's a sprain of some sort, or it's bruising, and there's a bit of swelling there, so the compression bandage is there for just to work on the help with the swelling and all that. So that gave me a little bit more hope. But yeah, again, like you, I'm just impatient. I was about to say patiently. I'm like, no, I'm not patient. I'm impatiently sweating it out on that injury report because
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we've shout out to Ash Saint who popped in there and chopped out a little bit towards the end there. Obviously, and she does that a bit anyway. But
yes, which I'm loving at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, love her getting around the ball. Got all the time in the world for it. She's such a weapon. She's a commodity. She's a real commodity, and like I wanted earlier this season, we got to use our best commodities to best effect.
And which Saint did use
more than comfortable.
Yeah, but I mean, Matilda's become,
that was a little bit creepy, wasn't it? I didn't mean for it to be creepy.
I didn't know.
I'm just a little bit tired myself.
It's a Monday night, and we're all
Because I was also thinking like, before, like, until we know that Matilda's like 100% okay, it's kind of like my thought drifted to the season post Matilda Scholz, if that is the card we're dealt. And yeah, I was just going to say that with a combination of Levicki, Saint, and then maybe a third person every now and again, like I'm still kind of comfortable with that. Given the midfield group we have as a whole, if they play their best football as well. Again, thinking a bit too far forward. But yeah, that's where my mind went in that moment, and I just kind of turned into a vegetable.
This is a football fan thing. This is what happens to us on the daily. Just if I'm working or, you just start thinking about something. And then
we're all spuds.
Yeah, exactly. That is, it is the thing. It's like you kind of have you can moneyball your way around it. Again, there we go with that. Like, get people to kind of in the aggregate make up for a lot, like Matilda, but she's become such a weapon in what she does because she obviously her clearance game, herself, her everything she does is just she's an extra midfielder. She's
Yeah,
obviously become
absolutely.
an extra big around the ground. I mean, she took a couple of marks again, both contested in this one. So she's just become
Had us doing, had us getting out the putter on the mound in between the stands.
Yeah, Matilda learned how to putt. Might have to work out a shirt on that or something.
I don't know how to go, but
I
yeah,
don't,
it'd be good.
um, but yeah, she's just such a she's going to be one of the premium players in the AFLW for the next decade, and
Mm.
that's just how important she is. So it does change the makeup of what we still go into the next couple of games, confident but less confident because of just she is such a game changer in you know, one person on the field. She's almost the ultimate game changer. Um, Gemma
Yeah.
Houghton, we've talked about at times when she like those couple of weeks where she turned it on for a quarter, it kind of changed the
Oh,
game.
yeah.
She had another
So she
almost
had
game in this one.
another
Yeah,
almost game. Yeah. It was painful is too strong of a word, but it's more because it's
you love
my
her, and
eagerness for her to do well. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and just finish off the hard work pre marking opportunity or goal kicking
that
opportunity.
one
Like
she
you
had
just,
in the
I just
pocket.
want her to do well, and yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
like And I mean, she was very cognizant to it. They interviewed her at halftime, I think, on the telecast, and
hmm
she was a little self-deprecating and was pretty humble in her assessment, just to like
she seems like a
things weren't
competent.
working out for her, and
Yeah,
she needed to be better in in her opinion, to
hmm
paraphrase what she was saying. And yeah, it was just another one again, 2 weeks in a row when, oh, talk about game breakers, just to get back on that topic. Yeah,
hmm
she epitomizes that in our side, in conjunction with Matilda Scholz.
yeah. Gemma had that one that she's in the similar pocket to where she obviously kicked goal of the year. I'm just
Yeah,
going to start calling it that now. And she took a bounce and
Gemma's
then tried to,
pocket.
yeah, Gemma's pocket. Yeah, that has a good ring to it as well, actually. Um, but she took that bounce and then kind of tried to hook it in and just like completely messed the ball drop up and very like, yeah,
Yeah.
and I think both of us kind of like almost dropped to our knees. Like we were just so excited to get up and about for another Gemma banger.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you were
Yeah.
just like, oh, she just was so close. She just got too far ahead of herself. And but we love that about her. It's great. But it's just like, oh my God, she was almost close to another because she'd done all the cool
She'd
work
done so much hard
beforehand, done the
work. Yeah.
bounce, and it
She'd
was like this
shaken
would have
off yeah.
it would have been a goal of the week nomination again if it was
Definitely,
yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. No doubt in my mind.
but yeah, never wanted to stop doing like, and I don't think I think she's very. I mean, she's obviously a two-time All Australian. She's pretty comfortable within herself and her own game. So keep at it. Like just keep doing what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing.
I
But yeah,
guess
it's just a not
maybe it's
like you said,
maybe
not
it's an
almost.
opportunity for her. What was that? Sorry?
I was just going to say, like you said last week, it's 2 weeks in a row where it's an almost game, which is still
Yeah.
it's a compliment itself because it means you're getting around it. It's just you're not
Yeah,
quite
she's doing a lot of hard
you're
work. She's
not getting
just
the
spending
cherry
it
on
before
top.
she's earning it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's what I think. It's an opportunity for her to just kind of try and calm her mind down a little bit, if that's possible.
yeah,
Because maybe, yeah, she had that upswing of form, and then maybe just trying to reach for it a little bit and over,
yeah,
like, just having a busy mind. Because, yeah, she's doing a lot of good hard work early and in the contest. Like, there was even, she had a great highlight herself from a disposal point of view in, I think it was in the first quarter. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She got like she was sidestepping it through three or four players,
hmm
managed to get it out inside 50 if it wasn't already. Uh yeah, like she's got a game going. She's
yeah,
just in a rut in terms of finishing it off for the last couple of games.
hmm
So I mean, history would tell you that if you keep playing in that manner, it's going to turn around again. So yeah, just it'd be amazing if all of those weapons had a good game and like each one of them just
yeah,
brought the fire as well.
yeah. Because if we ever get that game where it's like because in this game we had Ashley Saint kick 2 goals and Abby kicked
Yeah,
Darrick kicked 2 goals. If we get a game one day, and then we've had Teakle earlier in the year, and unfortunately Teakle's out probably for up until if we're in finals, at least with her knee. But yeah,
that's it. You get Saint and Houghton kicking 2 goals each.
and
You
then you get
get
the
the third,
chip-ins. Yeah.
yeah. That seems to be the way. Mills Robinson crumbing.
Mm.
Get her involved. She's capable. But if you could push Saint to a 3 or push Houghton to a 3, they're both getting enough opportunities. That goes a long way to us dominating a game of football. When you know that, you get the grouping of singulars around that as well.
Yeah.
Caitlin Wendland as well. Like she's been rolling over her scoring prowess each week, which is pleasing. Because like some of these players aren't getting very many disposals, so but a game of football is about moments ultimately, and just players taking their moments. I by and large, I think they are, and I think that's what's contributing to us 4 in a row. But at this point of the season now, you just can't help but think like, oh well, like we've got to here. Like, how much more? Like, what could happen if this, and this happened? Like, all these scenarios start coming to life, or coming into your imagination.
Yeah. Wendland, by the way, she had her goal on it. She just pops up. She's 6 disposals.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
6 disposals, 3 tackles, 1 goal. Like that's a pretty good return from an injury replacement player.
It was a stylish goal too. That was another moment that you ducked off. So unlucky from you on a couple of counts.
I know.
I hope that doesn't mean next week it's going to be me missing 3 opportunities, but cross that bridge.
We have this
but stylish goal from Caitlin Wedland on the left, snapped it. Good. And she's an injury replacement. That's just
she's
I can't get over that.
Now, like just that goal kicking, that instinct for goals and knowing where they are and all that kind of stuff is really, really important. Like those are things you can't teach. They like you train up all the skills and everything like that, but sometimes that's just instinct and game awareness and field awareness is just something that players have or they don't. And she seems to have it a bit, like just with that goal against Collingwood as well and whatnot. So, it's funny. I have a friend, my buddy in America. Shout out to Vince. He has the Vince piss thing where he's just like, if he's going, like, he's a Portland Timbers season ticket holder, and I went to a game with him once, and it was a derby against Seattle, and we were a goal down, and we both went to take a piss, and he just goes, "We'll score here," and we're in there pissing in the urinal, and there's a few other people around, and then we hear the stadium start shaking and roaring, and we realize we've scored. And I've just finished pissing. I've gone and jumped on his back to celebrate as he's still finishing.
Sorry for the visual, everyone. By the
way, it happens so often in sports for me. Like just and that's what we call
it's it. It's that sporting superstition that everyone just has and lingering in the back of their mind, if not fully enveloped in their mind.
Oh, it happens all the time. If we're texting during a game that he's at, and then like there's a couple of friends of us that were all Portland Timbers fans, so we'll text in a group chat. And he'll be at the game. He's like, "Going to take a piss, boys. So watch out." and it happens quite often. But
what if there were TVs in the urinals, like we were talking about last time?
Oh yeah, we were.
Would that change the equilibrium of everything?
Oh man, maybe we don't want. Okay, so so our discussion on the night, we need to not put TVs in the urinals at Alberton then, because that would change that. Yeah,
we just said TVs in more in general, but obviously, TVs in urinals is near the top of that list of things we need to see TVs present in.
Because the one thing you're missing game action for, as we're just round it back, was Caitlin.
Exactly.
Like Caitlin Willen's goal. Yeah. Like we could have.
Look, it's just a fact that it's just a part of life and sport. At sport, drink. Go to the toilet.
Sometimes you can't hold the
pee. Miss scores.
Time. Yeah. But yeah, it was a great team. One thing I wanted to shout out to, just defensively, because we haven't talked about it too much, and I know some of them may not come up in votes. I'm not wanting to speak for you, but The marking effort, when I look at the likes of Ella Bogue with 4, Emily Borg with 3, even Maloney and Kirsty Lamb had Maloney had 3 marks, Lamb had 4. Like that's just a real Tegan, you said the last name.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Tegan Jermack.
Yes. Cha-ching. She had a great game.
Yes.
She had a great game.
It's an inside joke because I think
another injury replacement player.
Yeah.
You can't delist them at the end of the year.
No, I
for
don't
mine. Her and Wendy, that is.
Well, and they've been in tech, because they've been playing basically, with the injuries and obviously the fact they're replacing players, but then the fact that there's been a couple more injuries as well. They've become integral to a side that is sitting top 8. Not just.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Not passengers at all. I mean, Jermack had 10 disposals at 70% with the 3 marks and 3 tackles in there, and those are numbers from a defensive player in a game that was mostly played in that forward half. If she's getting those numbers to assist that, to make sure it's
the confidence to run as well. She burst away from her opponent on a handful of occasions, which just added to her overall game. Yeah, I really enjoyed it from a defensive point of view. And you mentioned Emily Borg too, for that matter. Like, I thought she had an elevated game. She managed to get her hands on the ball a little bit more, and she showed what she can do. She went at 71.4% by hand and foot. So just talking about X Factor and need, like, adding it to our defensive third. Like, those are a couple of players who showed a little bit, and but love Tegan Jermack's game.
Yeah. Also, shout out Caitlin Pope, by the way, because we loved her goal. And I think overall,
shout out to everyone.
Yeah. But I think overall, like, she's the one that we sometimes. I love her because she's obviously on the field. Like, I'm not picking on redheads, but when you get a redheaded shorter player running around, it's just like there's something aesthetically like fun about that. And she's like
she's a pocket rocket. I said it on the night. Yeah. Just and a great, like, interesting sporting career thus far. Just dabbling in footy and cricket.
Yeah. And she went at 85%. She had the 7 disposals, and she had, crucially, and she had a few good ones, 5 tackles as well. Like, she was one of the ones one of many, obviously, with those high tackle numbers. But she just one of those players that doesn't get spoken about as much at times, I think. And she just had one of those games where, again, like, the numbers aren't 7 disposals, but when you counter in the fact that 6 out of 7 were effective. The 5
I thought she
a great goal as well, and
awesome goal. And shout out to Jazzy Stewart's kick inboard as well. I love an inboard kick, an effective inboard kick, and that was beautiful. That was I called Matilda Scholz Mark last week Poetry in Motion on Twitter, and that kick almost was too. It looked so calm as well, and just the perfect weight. Like, Jazzy Stewart, short enough to not, still not be smothered, and then one of the shortest players on the field just kind of like just finding space in a group of players for a mark top of the goal square too. St Kilda wouldn't have been too happy about that defensive effort, but just put a cherry on top of Popey's game in particular.
God, we really could just shout out everyone, and which we do in a roundabout way. Did you have anything else game specific before we get into votes? Because I know there's probably a few players we really want to key in on when we get to the votes. But if you've got anything else in your game notes, I know that you've probably got more. Like, because like I said, I didn't get to the replay on the weekend, so that's why I'm probably a little bit more light on for in-depth content myself.
Oh no! I mean, we could really go on, but without waffling on about every single player, just wanted to pay credit to their endeavour. Again, it was just exactly what you want to see as a fan of a football team, and it'll hopefully hold them in good stead again to just try and forecast a little bit. But the vibes were good. The club's in a really good spot. Like, it's something to be proud of at the moment, and just wanted to pay credit to them again. And Lauren Arnell as well. We should comment on her. You've been big on her coaching performance this season. She just keeps making moves that work. She's drawing the best out of a lot of our players at the moment and putting them in key positions that are going to win us the game. So credit to her and the coaching team. Things are clicking every single week, and that's evident.
Yeah, and they've been preaching, the patience and the trust in the process and all that for a while now. With, Arnell being a coach since right from the start, and
Yeah,
it must be.
there was a lot of people who, were very critical last season, which we ultimately bested our initial season. If you let the course of the season run, but a lot of people are very critical, and I would dare say that if they continued to watch AFLW or us in the AFLW, they would be perhaps a little bit humbled by some of their assessments. Because proof is in the pudding.
Yeah,
thus
absolutely.
far, and touch wood, it continues.
Yeah, and even like we said, there's been a little bit of it. We've been mostly kept fit, but I mean, a few players. Well, likes of Ewing's being out for the season with for a personal leave, likes of Indy Tahu, who started well last year before her knee injury, and she's out again this year. Janelle going down early, Julia Tickle going down recently. There's been some big players. Hannah Dunn missing, which by the way, shout out Hannah Dunn she was obviously missing for positive reasons, which was maternity leave, and they announced the safe arrival of their her and her
Fantastic.
partner's kid today. I don't know if it was born today, but I just saw it was on the airport.
Yep.
And her shared it just only in the last couple of hours. So, shout out to her. But there's a lot of players that were some experience and some really good young talent that are missing. So the coaching staff have continued to work with what they've got and actually done a really good job in picking their injury replacement players, as we've said, and made them not just become supplement players, but actually integral players to the side. So that's all down to coaching and recognizing kind of the talent out there. And I like the fact that they went out and got young injury replacement players as well, like recognized young talent to kind of mix in with the overall project, and they might have unearthed a couple of decent players in that process. So
well, I believe Naomi Maidment is still the list manager. I have nothing to suggest otherwise.
I've seen her around at Albert, like she's been at Albert in
well, there you go.
years,
So, credit to her. She's done a flawless job from day dot, in my opinion. I think we've got list management and emerging talent helps cover for some of those injuries to important players. When you've got emerging talent, which we do with aplomb, she's made some great calls clearly, and there's been benefits and biases in the draft and recruitment process thus far. You still got to nail it, and you just take advantage of the hand you dealt, and credit to her as well. Some a lot more ticks than crosses, and it's
there's really
promising for the next decade.
You can barely say they've missed, like even
even players that have left us.
We were talking.
I can only think of one.
You assume you're talking about Sarah Goodwin, like.
Yeah.
We're watching the show. Yeah, it was a good draft pick. They made some list management decisions there, but it's worked out. Like whatever, I don't know. I can't remember the exact machinations of what that deal was, but all that drafting and stuff has worked out okay. I assume there was picks. I think there was mostly picks for that one. I don't remember us getting anything back, but our picks are working out okay too. So when you consider, nothing to fault in that. Yeah, the list management's been amazing. In the women's, so much better than the men's. The men's are just fucking terrible.
Hand in your list management cards, men's team.
I hope people can hear the sarcasm dripping from my voice right now. Just it's been an interesting week on that side, but no, we're not going to spend any more time on that because we're talking about the women. Let's get into our votes then. I get to go first this week. I texted you beforehand. It was tough again, which, as you replied, saying it's a good problem to have, which we always say. I found it. There was 3 clear top for me, but I found the order of that really tough, and then I found finding my 1 and 2 votes really tough too, because there's a few I wanted to get in there, but gone with what I've got. I wanted to shout out Ebony O'Day for her 50th game. Didn't quite get into my votes, but I think she still had a really good game. She just,
Yeah, she had a couple of nice moments where I know one in particular, she took an intercept mark, and she just had a moment where, yeah, she was in possession of the ball unimpeded, and yeah, got a nice applause from the crowd.
yeah,
Yes, so good on her.
yeah. She should just get a vote every week just for the fact that she can do a Rubik's Cube in a minute because I've never been able to do one of those things. And the fact that she can just fucking knock it out like whenever she's handed one, it's just incredible to me. But yeah, my one vote goes to I had to get her in here because we talked about her on the weekend on the night. You kind of mentioned this one when she was at a centre bounce and she's saying she's getting a lot more of these, and it's Piper Window.
Hmm.
She had 12 disposals. 11 of those possessions were contested as well. Um, Actually, almost lower in her tackle numbers compared to usual. She had the 4 tackles, but she had 8 clearances, which was I think second best for the side. Um,
Was.
7 were from stoppage, and she had a real nice one in the center. It could have been actually from stoppage in the center. I can't remember if it was a center bounce or it was a stoppage near center, but she had one, this incredible one where she took a beautiful tap from Matilda, by the way, and just took it on the run and burst forward like, just a
Yeah.
midfielder beyond her years. And we've said again, we've said it every week that there was a moment earlier in the season where she looked a little bit tentative and looked to handball off and things like that, where she's just grown and grown and grown week to week and really becoming a nice integral part of the side. And you can just see, just when you see all the things she's doing now, she had 254 meters gained as well. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, just the player that she can become when you see what she is now and all the little tools that she has at her disposal, whether it be kicking, I think is improving week to week, but just the tackling, the pressure, the confidence, the burst and run. Yeah, she's really, really growing. And I think we mentioned it. I can't remember if we mentioned it on the night or when we're talking about some of this young talent coming through. We keep forgetting we've got Lauren Young, who was the prized recruit out of
Hmm.
last year, who obviously
Yeah.
her ACL in the off season, so or in the SANFL women's during the off season of the AFLW. But yeah, likes of Piper Window coming through, and obviously Brooksby and Co. Have really shown that there's just a very deep talent pool we've pulled from and done well with our recruiting. My 2 votes goes to Ash Saint. Um, she had the 13 disposals. She had obviously had a couple of nice goals, 3 clearances herself, 5 tackles, and then she chopped into the ruck late as well. I think she had a decent amount of meters gained as well. I didn't actually note that down. I was doing like these notes really quickly earlier, but yeah, it's over 200 meters gained as well. But just again, showing that range as a player because she's obviously a leading goal kicker in the AFLW in the past. A really, but she's the way we're utilizing the likes of her and Gemma is just so much using so much more of their athletic talent around the field. And again, credit to the coaching staff for recognizing all these different things that they can do. But yeah, Saint just seems to be. She seems to be building into the season nicely as well. Like she's been having a good season, but I think this game was really just uh, probably one of her best for the year for me. Finishing it off with a couple of goals helps. Uh, didn't have the frustration of getting a free against her in the unfairly this week either. So yeah, no, really loving Ash Saint's game and what she can bring to the side, and particularly in that kind of getting into the midfield a little bit as well. Are you looking to say something right
I'm just praying to Saint Ash
now?
while you're talking.
Yeah, I was just watching
Yeah.
you. I was just like, yeah, I love that actually. That's
I
good,
knew
Saint.
that I knew
Saint.
that people watching on YouTube wouldn't have been able to see me, so I was just waiting for you to say something. But yeah, I was just praying to Ash Saint because she's in a rich vein of form right now, and I love
Yeah,
it.
long may it continue. Yeah. My three
Agreed.
votes, and Jesus Christ, I found this difficult, and I don't know if I'm really happy with how my 3, 4, 5 worked out, but it's also like they all had great games. So, um, yeah, my 3 votes I gave to Abby Dowrick, which again I don't know why because the stats. I mean, she had 2 of the best goals I've seen in AFLW, like on the night. Um,
Yeah, bang.
we've said a few times just the power in her boot, like, and we've said it mostly for kicks that she's coming out of center, like she'll, boot it from, inside the square and get a real nice deep penetrating kick to the inside 50. But when she's actually in the inside 50 and she can gather it for a snap at goal, you just know she's going to have the distance on it if she gets the full
Yeah, that's it.
connection on the ball,
Excuse
and
me.
then it's all about direction in. Yeah. But yeah, beyond that, she had 18 disposals, which 12 contested, 66%, 10 tackles, 9 clearances, which 8 of those was from stoppage, 400 meters gained. Like she just had another incredible Abby game. And again, I don't think you've spoken about it last week. Like once she starts getting up to that, like maybe closer to 25 disposals a game, it'll be like real watch out the competition.
Sizzling.
But
Yeah.
she's having such an incredible impact with getting those 18 to 20 odd anyway. So it's and a lot of mouths to feed suddenly, like as we grow this side's the midfield. I mean, we won the clearance battle quite nicely. Again, center clearance, I think we just shaded, but it was just around a stoppage. We really won it comfortably.
Yeah.
That's
31 to 20
yeah,
in stoppage
yeah,
versus 5 to 4 from center.
yeah. So yeah, it's with those midfield bulls and whatnot, like the likes of Abby,
Yeah.
really. And yeah, obviously her and Piper were the two really big beasts around the stoppage. So yeah, really good games from them both. But Abby's game again would have been 4 or 5 votes most weeks, I think. My 4 votes I gave to Matilda, and I again was struggling not to give her the 5, but there's one stat that I brought up earlier that got the 5 votes across the line for another one, but 22 disposals, 16 contested, 30 hit outs. Just a monster game. 5 clearances, which two of those were out of the center. 6 inside 50s, 3 score involvements, 430 meters gain. Like half of those numbers are midfielder numbers. So she's she's a ruck woman.
Preach.
She's
Are we in a cathedral right now?
Yeah, I know.
Like, gee whiz.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bring out the gospel choir. I'm keen for it.
Yeah. I was about to start to try to break into song and then remembered I cannot carry a tune to save my life.
We're recording.
Yeah. But yeah, Matilda's game was just such an incredible, ruckwoman game. But then everything else around that, the fact that she did a lot of
she's starting to she's getting the don't argues going too, which I love. And even if she gets caught a little bit, she still has the ability to get it on to her foot to at least negate a free kick opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, more don't argues as well. Like just keep adding strings to your bow.
Yeah, especially
I don't care.
Well, at 19, if she keeps adding strings to her bow, she's going to become just one of the greatest. Yeah. Well, and that's her trajectory. It's just one of the great dominant players of the AFLW, as we mentioned earlier. So, yeah, loving her game. But I couldn't go away from Shanae Goody for my best on with the 5 votes. She had the 22 disposals. Only 6 of those were contested, but part of that is helped by the fact she took 11 marks. So, she...
I think a mark is actually... Oh, no, well, it clearly can't be a contested possession. Yeah.
Well, if it's an uncontested
I think intercept
marks...
Yeah. I think intercept marks are contested possessions.
Okay. Well, then, I'm not exactly... Yeah, there must have been some, maybe, but I think she just... Yeah, 11 marks is incredible, considering if we look back to the Collins
Absolutely,
game,
yeah.
She took 16 total.
Phenomenal effort.
Yeah, she took a quarter of our team's marks. Had 429 meters gained, which is like second only to Matilda's with 1 more meter. So 7 inside 50s led the team, which, coming from a lot of those marks, a couple of clearances, 8 tackles. Just, again, she's probably a goal away from, in a goal a game away from just being a really... like putting a stamp on the competition a little bit already at her age. But when you watch her form, her running power, her kicking action, everything, she's just such a prototypical, incredible football player already. And she's just so young and raw in age. But I can't keep saying raw in ability anymore because she just seems so assured of what she's doing that she's had this game building for years, clearly in her youth ranks, and we're just reaping the benefits of it. She's incredible. So, I think I can't remember if I mentioned it. She went at 72% in that too. So she, tied for the lead in our team for as far as disposals go. But she also, went at 72% for it as well with those 11 marks.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
incredible
well,
stuff.
and when you consider that she's entered the ball inside 57 times, if she's going at just under 73%, those are the people you want entering the ball inside 50. So, yeah, that the disposal efficiency just makes it just elevates her statistics across the board,
Yeah.
in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's disposals in that area of the field, and that
Mm.
level of efficiency really, really elevates kind of once you, yeah. That's why we like to talk about stats in the, stats and numbers, are fun to look at, but then it's the context of them and where they mean
Yeah,
and where they are on
absolutely.
the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the old history degree thing that we were talking, I was well, because
Yeah.
people would always say, history is just learning when things happened and remembering dates. And I'd always say, no, dates and numbers are important, but it's the how and why and the context of it is the real important
Yeah.
part. Otherwise, they're just numbers. So it's the same with that. Like, yeah, it's a good point to bring up. Like her entering 50, leading the team in inside 50s, with that amount of disposals and disposal efficiency is a really important kind of, context to round out like that kind of performance, and
Yeah.
is exactly why I had to give her best on, which sucks when Matilda and Abby both had games that I absolutely adored, but it's just yeah, Sinead to clear it for me. I was just really, and I guess maybe there's a part of it that's the age profile, but they're all fucking young, so it doesn't really matter anyway. But being her first year,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
really it's going to be daunting for the competition once they start realizing how special Sinead Goody is out there, because I still don't know how many more around other fans around the league realize what a special player we've got in her. So yeah, best on for
Yeah.
me.
Well, yeah. And just to get you excited about who's coming next over the next coming years, 1, 2, 5, who else is going to add to the competition broadly? That's what I get out of watching the younger players play well. It's like,
Yeah,
there's more of this to come. And that's, again, going off the back of our kind of depth conversation last week. But yeah, so Dave, guess what?
did we Yahtzee?
Yahtzee! We did.
Yes,
Yahtzee. Yeah.
first
Shake it,
dub
shake it, shake it, shake it, shake
Yahtzee. That's incredible.
And we
Okay.
Yahtzeed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you picked window for your one vote, I knew we were on because, funnily enough, Saint, Dowrick, Scholz, and Goody are our top 4 for fantasy points as well. And it's one of those occasions where I felt that truly reflected the top 4 people on the ground in the way I saw it.
It's funny. I looked at
So
that
yeah.
too. I was just like, because often the fantasy, like I look at the fantasy number.
Well, because it misses some of the other stats that
yeah,
I like to, provide some context to how I do my votes. Yeah. It is just interesting, like where the women's game is at the moment. The people up the top of the fantasy points are generally the better performance on the ground. So yeah, I thought it truly reflected that. Yeah. What's more to say? It's kind of why I was adding to your votes a little bit with my comments, because I was following the same order. Yeah. I did want to give an honorable mention though. Tegan Jermack was one of them. We've already spoken about her again. Just at the ground, you got the good vibes from her. Excuse me. And then watching the replay just made it so much more enjoyable seeing it again and from that vantage point. Excuse me. But the other one is Kirsty Lamb. That was evident for the whole game, but a senior player as well, making her mark on the game. Her stats are pretty good, and where she sits again on the fantasy ladder is pretty decent, but I don't think they tell the whole story, and I thought that was going to be the case on the night. I thought she did so many good things off the ball and with the ball in hand. She was just everywhere. She was a mongrel. She had some fantastic passages of play where she assisted teammates or, changed possession. I loved her game, and it was a bit her and Jermack, like at various stages, I'm like, you're getting the one vote, and then Window inevitably got my one vote, much like yours. yeah, uh, but they all stake a claim. They can all make their case for it. I reckon.
Yeah,
Yeah, not much more to add to what you said. Um, just yeah, our better players played well. It would have been interesting if Gemma Houghton did add a couple of goals herself.
yeah,
Just did a few things a bit better, but yeah, um, maybe she's still fighting it out for the one vote. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I just agree. Window Saint, Dowrick, Schultz, and Shanae Goody.
yeah. It's really nice to see. Again, that's two players that we drafted last year or picked up last year. Okay, the machinations of how each one was picked up. I think Window and Goody both came
I
with
think they were
drafts.
both genuine draft
Yeah,
picks,
they were. So
if I
there's
remember correctly.
two draft picks from this year. One draft pick from. Oh, wait, sorry. Matilda was a early signing period one, but
Yeah,
three players that were picked up in list man, essentially, draft like
draft type
draft type
situations.
situations. Yeah, whatever list management decisions that we are picking up young players out
Well,
of.
and Dowrick. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
so
and
many. There's
Darren.
been so many categories.
Yeah,
But four out of those five players we didn't trade for.
yeah,
We
exactly.
selected them.
Yeah, they were players taken out of local leagues or they were talent development picks rather than Ash Saint was obviously an All Australian leading goal kicker player coming across to
Yeah,
her her girlhood club. I like to remind people she's a lifetime Port fan, so that's cool. But yeah,
died in the wall.
the rest of them are all draft picks or otherwise that ilk of player. So and all in the last 3 years, and two of them this year. So two of them are 8 games into their career now, and they're playing having incredible roles for our side. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, wonderful game. Quick note that we're away this week, playing Gold Coast Suns, who are in 17th on the ladder. So not wanting to again knock on wood and all that stuff, but it's a game we should be winning. We looked
Yes.
we looked at it last week and said the St Kilda one was probably the sternest test we had upcoming. This is away, but we've shown some reasonable away form this year as well. So um, even going,
Yeah, well, and Gold Coast managed to win their matchup against Sydney in the week just gone. So glad they got that out of the way.
yeah,
Now we can go rain on their parade, and yeah, it'll be fantastic. Just one
yeah,
more game closer to finals.
yeah. I don't want to guarantee a certain win or anything. I just think we are
No.
in good form and stuff. I would say my hope and everything around how certain I am we can win the game will be a lot more clearer once the injury report on Matilda comes out because she is just so
Yes, that's a great point.
dynamic to our chances. She does her out would even it up a little bit and just change things. But I think overall around the ground we still should be better. But yeah, that is a big one. But yeah, we're sitting in seventh ourselves with now a healthier percentage of 110. Obviously still below a lot of the teams above us, but yeah, we're in finals position and should be looking to win on that one. So for those, obviously it's away. I don't know if you're on the Gold Coast and go, but otherwise, yeah, 3:30. I think 3:35 local time for us in Adelaide on Saturday afternoon. If you wanted to, obviously, hopefully you're wanting to watch it, get around them and watch them before we come back home
Yeah.
the week
Gold
after.
Coast have a couple of decent players. I don't know a whole heck of a lot about them,
Yeah, I can't say I
but
have either.
Charlie Rowbottom is definitely a player that we need to keep in our line of sight, similar to is it Ella Roberts from
West
West
Coast.
Coast?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah, very similar type setup. A very accomplished young player,
Mm.
and I just did a quick scan, and their ruckman dominated, or ruckwomen. My apologies, ruck person, if you will. They fact of the matter is they dominated that position against Sydney.
Yeah.
Now Sydney aren't having the season that they would like, but yeah. So again, if Tildes plays or not, that's a pretty key factor by the looks of things on paper.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be a big one for me. So we'll keep an eye on that injury report tomorrow and hope that it's all positive on the Matilda Scholz front. But yeah, Gold Coast 3:35 Saturday afternoon to get around and watch them, support them however you can. And just a reminder again that our last home game for the minor round is in on Sunday the 3rd of November at 4:35. So nice
Yeah.
little Sunday, later Sunday
Yeah,
afternoon game to get down to Albert. I'm sure it'll be. Not don't want to forecast the weather, but being early November, you just you know chances are it'll probably be a decent day.
yeah.
So yeah,
And Alberton, like at this time of the year, it's just great. Like
it's beautiful.
if you're a
Yeah,
Port Adelaide Football Club fan, I'd highly recommend going down the club, supporting your team. Like
and
I
it's not
know I've
expensive.
enjoyed it. I know you've enjoyed it. I know a lot of people have enjoyed it
Yeah.
this season in particular. It's just, yeah, it's just a great time out for a footy fan, in my opinion.
hmm And it's not expensive. You can get down there and park. Street parking. You can park for free.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
don't
If
have,
you've got a secret park that's not so secret that you get every time you go, then parking's fantastic. Um,
yeah,
that's all I'll say on the matter, though. Uh,
yeah. There's
for
no
my own
secret.
benefit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the parking. Whether
Parking is actually good. Like
yeah,
it's not a long walk.
yeah. Every time I drive down, I park a 5 minute walk away, and it's not hard for me to find that park. And if I got there later and closer to kickoff, I'd just maybe be another street away. It wouldn't be difficult.
Yeah,
It's not difficult at all.
yeah. And Dave's driving a bus, so
Yeah, yeah. A literal bus. I'm taking up three people's parking spaces. No, I'm trying.
but he
I'm
didn't
looking.
have a car. I had a bus.
But then it's the ticket pricing as well as like if you don't have a membership, which that is cheap as well, but obviously at this point of the year, maybe it's just if you don't have a membership, ticket's $15, and you can go stand anywhere you
Mm.
want. I think if you want to sit in one of the grandstands, it's a bit more, but um,
Yeah, it
but
is.
generally the grandstands on the other side, I think you just wander around and sit in. I think,
Yeah, I think they're general admission
yeah.
grandstands. Yeah,
So if you want
yeah.
a seat, you can find one. Um, and then you can just wander up to the precinct after or within the game and grab a beer and obviously the Bob McLean bar that we frequent at times
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
It's
a lot of the
great.
players come up to the post match too.
Yeah, you'll pretty
Um,
much see every player up there at some point, more or
yeah,
less.
yeah,
I
which is
think.
great. Like it
Yeah.
just continues that club, that genuine club feel that I kind of alluded to last week and we spoke about.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
enjoyable,
It's wonderful. Yeah. So
wholesome.
yeah, we'll obviously shout that out again after we review hopefully another win over Gold Coast this time next week. But I just want to keep, as I said last week and this week as well, I just want to keep pushing anyone that's listening that maybe thinking about it, just go get keep planning around that Sunday 3rd November because I mean we hope that we obviously are now starting to really look forward to maybe a finals game, but it very likely could be away unless we happen to play the crosstown rivals or whatever, which would
Mm.
still be technically away. So yeah, the last chance you have to see these girls definitely at Alberton this year is Sunday the 3rd of November. So get around it. Um, One more note on the women before we just turn to a little bit of men's news to finish it off.
Hmm.
Obviously, the release of the Indigenous round kit today was really nice. I like the. I always like. I mean, I'm just a kit nuffy, so I've got I've got
Yeah.
three different boxes marked Port Guernseys that I still need to unpack here from my collection that was boxed up for a couple of years here, and so I just love them. So I collect them and whatnot. So as always, I always love the release of new kits, and a great Indigenous kit by Jasmine Stewart, who's a Jaru woman from which is over in Western Australia. Which, if you're not aware where she's from, she's WA, obviously. Um, I don't have the notes in front of me of all the intricate details of it, but the port, as they do with the men's, they've done a really good post. Like on Instagram, you can slide through it. It's got different information. They'll close in on a part of the Guernsey and explain that. A lot of it's to
Hmm.
do with some drawings and stuff from artwork from a late grandfather, I believe it was,
Grandfather,
who
yeah,
passed
yeah,
away
and
when she
his
was young.
story, his
Yeah,
totem, which is a snake. Yeah, it's an awesome Guernsey. Uh,
a little touch to
one of the things
our
that
old
I definitely.
Guernseys. I think it was mentioned. It's obviously
What's that?
design. There was a
Yeah,
mention.
like the OG AFL era
Yes,
Guernsey. You
yeah,
mean? Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Definitely
obviously,
gives that vibe
yeah,
for
that
sure.
obviously with her story and her family story in there. But yeah, anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I jumped in there.
Oh no, yeah, it's just something that I love to celebrate and
Mm.
um just Indigenous culture as a whole, but how the AFL community get around it at the top level. Yeah, it's just awesome. You see some fantastic designs every single year. It's awesome, and this one's something to be proud of for Jazz and her family for sure, and our football club. It's going to look great on the weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing it in action.
Yeah, and there's an away version of it as well, just like which side note,
Yeah.
sidebar. You and I are very disappointed that we didn't get to see the home Pride Guernsey on Friday night. Don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
I just assumed that
It
they.
was because we played Collingwood.
Yeah.
We tried to tell ourselves it wasn't, but it fucking was.
Fucking hell, Collingwood just. It doesn't matter what competition. I thought AFLW at least we'd get away from that because I assume
Yeah.
I have a natural assumption that Eddie McGuire doesn't care on that side of it, but because I didn't hear him whinge at all about the AFLW showdown, so
I now want a petition to wear the prison bars next time we play Collingwood in the AFLW.
yeah, and just see if he says anything, like if he even notices.
Just fucking do it. Let's
Yeah,
just do it. Fuck him.
yeah. But yeah, Indigenous round goes, this weekend and next weekend in the AFLW apparently. So,
Oh, they're doing it a 2-weeker. Yeah,
that's what
cool. I didn't look in that far.
So I'm hoping that means that we get to because there's an away one where I think it's teal panel on the top part on both, but then it's white versus black on
Yeah.
the bottom part of it. So,
Yeah, I think
um,
you're right there.
which I like. The white one actually is not because it does show some of that detailing in the bottom part of it because I think the details of it are like meant to represent the land of which he's from, and um, some of that shows up better in just the photos I've seen on the white one better than
Yeah.
the black paneling. Oh, both of them look great. But it's not. It's just my aesthetic. I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
white
yeah.
one's really showing some good detail there as well. So hopefully we get to see both of them. Which I assume. Well, I mean, don't know how the kick clash against Gold Coast goes, but you'd assume away this week, home next week, or something like that. So yeah,
I would assume.
yeah, but a great kit. I haven't bought too many W kits because even though I don't wear them that much, like I'm still just like I want it. It's an OCD thing. Is like I want to be able to fit into them, so I need to work out which AFLW kit actually would fit over a hoodie for me, which it would often probably be the
Yeah.
largest one. I've seen blokes wearing AFLW kits around, so I know that there's probably a fit for me. I just haven't figured it out yet. So, but
Yeah.
I might just start. I might keep an eye on one of the auctions, which obviously good.
Duck into the port store next time you're at Alberton.
Yeah, but then I look at the port store and then I see the bar and I keep ducking that way.
Yeah,
Um,
go and see Bob about a beer.
that was there's a peek behind the curtain. I texted Jamie on when I got down there and he's like, I'm still getting there. I said, no worries, mate. I'm gonna go see Bob about a beer. So I think it was specifically Bob about a stout. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, alluding to the Bob McLean bar for those unaware.
Yeah,
The
which
main bar inside the club rooms.
yeah, a great
Oh,
spot.
sorry, the bottom level of the club rooms.
Yeah, now it is
Not
yeah,
the
it is.
precinct.
Yeah. The original main bar
Yeah.
at the club, yeah, which is still a good spot for a frothy before, during, or after a game, really, or at any time. I've spent a lot of time in that bar. But yeah, looking forward to seeing those kits out in the field. So shout out to Jasmine Stewart and the kit and Port's continuous work in that space because it's really important to these rounds. I know there's a lot of detractors out there, which they have no good reason to be, but they're out there. These rounds are
Well, I didn't want to dwell on that. Yeah, that's why I kind of
yeah.
said my bit. Like,
I was
I enjoy it. Like,
yeah
it's right in my wheelhouse, and I
yeah.
love to celebrate it. Yeah,
I was
my mum in particular and that side of the family have
mm,
been involved with Aboriginal communities, and yeah, I just love that side of our country, and I
yeah
wish we would embrace it more as a whole. In my opinion,
yeah.
I care much more about Indigenous culture than I do the monarchy. And I
Yeah
think, yeah, like I said, I don't want to dwell on what we could go
yeah
to. I just love it
yeah.
myself.
I was segueing to just say I don't want to dwell on it too much, but these rounds are really important because we've seen on the AFL men's side, and we'll get to just some news about our side, but just on the AFL men's side with GWS this week, and the scandal enveloping there, and some of the people that just don't understand why it's a scandal, because they just think it's it's privacy and all those things. But it's gotten out, so it's not private, and these things will get out. And there was a big deal about respective women round or whatever it was called this year, and those issues are really important. We saw how far we have to go, so that's why these rounds are important, to highlight these things and celebrate these cultures, and celebrate, whether it's celebrating cultures or celebrating the need for advancement in being better to women and gender-based violence and all those things. So these rounds are important. That's what I wanted to say as a segue to, and just chat, just because that's been a disturbing thing to me this week, is watching people not realize why, these rounds are important, is, because of things like that we saw with the GWS scandal. So, but nothing more to be said about that. We're not a GWS podcast anyway. But I think that story became an AFL story as well, and
it can, and
a societal story as well. It's something that I thought I'd at least wanted to mention for a minute, just to say that we're cognizant of it, and certainly supportive of all the people that are hurting from a story like that, because it is disturbing and frustrating to see that people can still think that's okay. So
human nature would say that both, like, people, friendship groups, that you have some behind closed doors type of comedy, or what you think is funny, within you or your friendship groups. But my opinion is that although it's a private function, it's still a work function at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And if any of us acted in that way at a work function, you'd be cashing in a lot of credits to keep your job, or without faith. That's maybe a bit extreme. I mean, but even still, in certain settings, that's kind of lens that I try and look at it from. And further to the point, what you joke about in public normalizes certain parts of life. And
the fact
I just try and be conscientious of things that, like we said last week, things that aren't going to hurt me if I forego them in life, and how I feel about other people living their lives if they don't hurt me. Like, if not wearing provocative outfits that allude to sexual assault or the death of thousands of people, like, I'm okay to forego that joke in life. It's not, not going to hurt me to, even think about, like, not that I want to. It's not the point I'm trying to make, but it's just about the uproar about people doing things that do have underlying consequences and impacts on certain groups of people, and just willingness to just forego that shit.
Yeah, because it was people are making a big deal about it being a private function, but if there's a bartender there working it, that's a public venue, and the
private function is a bit of it is a bit of a cop out, because it's like saying, but I was just going to say I murdered someone in a private function, but that's probably more. I understand that's probably a bit more extreme, but you know where I'm coming from. Like, just because it's in private doesn't mean it's the wrong thing to do. Like, just have a bit of self-awareness. Again, like, it's not going to hurt you to forego things that objectively hurt people or continue poor behavior.
It normalizes poor behavior and way of joking about such things. And particularly the point I made on Twitter, it's like, you've got the club that's it does seem the most ostensibly the most in tune with pop culture, social media, how to utilize it, how things can go viral so quickly, and then you've got that club getting involved in something like that. It shows a complete lack of self-awareness, and ironically, for the club, because they've done a lot of good things to generate a buzz around their club, even if they still struggle to get a decent crowd for a final. But don't want to dwell on it too much.
And there is the other side of the coin from the lens of, like, young men trying to impress older men
Yeah.
in certain environments, and that's also a
That's a
problem,
cultural
in
thing.
my opinion, as well.
Very Australian
Beside the
thing
fact
too.
that there were leaders there were older, more mature people in the vicinity, and again, they've been penalised because they didn't really do anything about it. They didn't really step in. But
Yeah.
yeah, and there seems to be a few cultural issues pop up now, as
Yeah.
they do through every football season. Like, cultural issues seem to cross pollinate, and we talk about them. And like, I don't want to. It seems to just be happening a lot lately. And I don't
Yeah.
want to come on here and just be preachy all the time. This is a football podcast, but these are just our opinions. And if people agree with them, that's their
Yeah.
prerogative. And if they don't, that's also their prerogative. But society and sport are linked much more than some people try and
Oh, it's something.
ignore, or yeah, say it isn't supposed to be or whatnot. It's a bit like politics. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't think sport and politics are very similar, you've maybe not been deep in a sporting, particularly club environment. Like, recreational sport can be a bit different, but there's still sport politics in recreational sport. So yeah, society and sport,
Oh,
yeah,
they're the
particularly in
most
Australia.
they're the most interlinked things you can find. Like, whether you look at the guys in the 1968, I can't think of the runners' names, but the two African American athletes that did the Black Power
Yes,
salute when they won. It was the other guy on the dais was Australian, by
I
the
feel
way.
bad for not knowing his name. Yeah, or
Yeah, I
their
can't.
names, those
Yeah.
three.
Even Jesse Owens in the
Yeah, yeah. Sport's
yeah
a platform for these people to make a
Argentina and
stance, show what they
Argentina and
believe in.
yeah
Like,
Argentina
yeah,
and Brazil at the World Cups in the 60s, 70s, like they were. Argentina in particular was
yeah,
always a beacon for the government at the time. Like they were always interlinked. So sports and politics and
yeah,
society and everything are all interlinked. And um, yeah, you've got to accept it and understand that there's social responsibility to being
yeah.
a
Just try
famous.
and understand why these people, the sports people, try and understand why they feel that they need to make a stand, and whether you agree about where they're coming from or
Mm,
not. Like, it's in the eye of the beholder. And if you like to enjoy sport as a getaway, you're probably on the side of, like, keep all this stuff out of sport. And look, to a point, I get it, but again, culture and sport, it's always going to mix. Like you said, there's historical evidence, like,
yeah.
cultural issues in sport. It's just a platform.
Mm,
It's because there's people within sport and there's cultures within sport. Yeah, it's just a
yeah.
fact of life.
Yeah. Um, and that's why I like to bring it up on the book, because while we review games or whatever, I do think there's a whether or not people care, there's a responsibility on our side as fans to promote a positive environment for others that don't get a
Yeah,
chance
it's
to
something
speak
that
it.
we care about.
Yeah, and we want to foster that kind of positive, welcoming environment as fans of the Port Adelaide Footy Club. So whenever these things come up,
100%.
we'll
Yeah.
make a note of it. So yeah, but yeah, we'll leave that to the side for now. But yeah, I was just glad to be able to bring it up and just make sure that we keep fostering that positive environment for everyone that just wants to enjoy footy and enjoy life in a positive manner gets to do that. We'll finish off now though. Port men's news. Sorry, as the obviously the trade period's finished, so it's kind of that dwindling down of things. But there's some big news in the sense. Obviously, probably the big positive news before we get to the delistings, which is always a tough time of year, and there's a few interesting names in there. Nothing surprising to me, but still some names that we've certainly become quite accustomed to over the last few years, or a fair few years in particular to one. But positive news is Travis BOAK is back for season 19, um, which hadn't happened the last time we recorded. So I think once his season got going the way it did and finished, even though obviously the Sydney game, there was a couple of high profile negative ball use moments, but overall we thought he'd had a pretty good year. And I think most of
Hmm.
us by the end of the year maybe I think a few people overreacted to the Sydney game and said, "Yeah, no, he's done." Even though most of the year it was like, "Oh no, he's showing some good signs." I was curious as to where he'd be, like mentally, after a season like that, and particularly, his age and where, like, because I assume there's just a certain point people get to, but he's just so professional, and I was really glad to see come back for another year. Will be interesting to see how his role, if there is a drop off, how much he plays. But this year he played probably more than some people expected after the previous year. So yeah, I'm ready to. I'll ride with Travis Boak until he decides not to. So I'm really pleased to see him come on, and I think if nothing else, it's great leadership. But he still provided a fair bit to our side this year. So he popped up in our votes here and there this year. Beyond, despite the fact there was a fair few good players taking votes pretty consistently, he would pop in there occasionally with a one or a two just because of his class and experience out there on the wing mostly. So yeah, I was really pleased to see him back.
Hmm.
Obviously, if he kept on signing contracts just to sit there on the sideline up until he's using a walking stick, I'd be happy at this point because he makes me happy. He just makes me happy to see like out there, like
Yeah,
in whatever capacity. So
yeah, yeah. I agree. Yeah, love the guy. He deserved to go another year. I do think that Travis Stokes, the conclusion of his career will reach a natural conclusion, and that's best to happen. Or the way I see it happening is the way that I mentioned maybe a few weeks ago now, where next year, I think, albeit he is on for another year, we need to start preparing for life after Travis spoke and thinking about how we can use him to best effect with his leadership qualities and
mhm.
abilities, and yeah, how to manage him through a whole season because he's quite clearly coming to the end of his career.
Mhm.
And it is funny though, when you're able to play a full season without cracked and bruised ribs like he was in
Yeah,
2023. But yeah, we need to start thinking of life after Travis spoke, and I do see it coming to a natural conclusion.
Mhm.
And I'm going to try and enjoy as much of Travis spoke until that happens. So yeah, glad he's around. He's invaluable just from an age perspective in terms of like forecasting to next year's men's season. We're going to rely on our senior leaders more so than we did this season, or not rely on them for performance, but rely on them for leadership.
Mhm.
Dan Houston is that perfect middle age profile between the young guys and the older guys, and he's out. And yeah, so Travis spoke his development qualities and his leadership abilities. Yeah, going to be important, particularly off the field, but also on it when he's there and in what capacity. That will be interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. He's off. Yeah, it's fun. I remember this. This is. I don't think it's out of turn to say. Like I remember my wife and I were at a movie down in Glenelg years ago, and it was not long after Sam Powell-Pepper had been. There was some off-field talk with him, and we were at a movie, and just as we were walking out, Boak and Powell-Pepper were walking into a movie, and it just looked like Boak just big brother taking his younger brother out to a movie and just spending time with him and stuff like that. And I
Yeah,
just looked
yeah,
and said, "Oh, geez, that's good to see." So he's got a you know, long time reputation and involvement in our off-field leadership as well as obviously the on-field stuff. So yeah, long may it continue, beyond obviously playing years. But I do hope. I was discussing it with someone during the week. Uh, when the time comes, we get a chance to give him, whether I obviously hope the dream is that it's a grand final, but whatever it may be, that we just get a chance to farewell him like we did Robbie Gray because that was
hmm
really wonderful. Obviously, unfortunately, Robbie's was at the end of the regular season, a minor round game because we weren't making finals, and he made that call. But yeah, I just hope we get that chance to, because obviously that was the worry this off season with him making the decision. It was like
yeah,
we don't get a proper chance to. That Robbie Gray night after the showdown win, obviously the showdown win's great anyway, but then just getting that moment with him walking around the field and music playing and
yeah,
getting shared off was really special. So I think Boak obviously is one of few that I don't think you ever say eclipses Robbie Gray as far as how much we love him, but he's on that same, like he's on the pedestal
Oh,
with,
he's on the dais for
yeah,
sure.
he's right there next to
Yeah.
Robbie and those kind of legends of our club that we want to have that moment with them wherever that may be. And again, fingers crossed it's at the MCG. But yeah, really glad to see him back. Anyway, it's nice, it's wonderful that we'll be able to go to games and see Travis Boak play a few more times next year. And he's, yeah, you know, don't want to. It's maybe a long shot depending on injuries and obviously form and whatnot. But he's a chance to break the
Yeah.
Russell Ebert record as well. So just for games played for
Yeah.
Port Adelaide. So I think he's not 18 or 19 games away from that. So
Well, even if we use him for the sub a bit more next year, like some other clubs
yeah,
have used with their elder statesmen, it still counts as a game.
yeah,
So,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
And usually the subs get brought on, these days with it being tactical and whatever. They usually almost always get brought on these days. So,
Yes.
yeah, he'd end up playing in those games a little bit as well. So, and Boak for Boak burst and his just maturity and composure and all those things would be quite handy as a sub too. So, yeah,
Hmm.
that'll be really fun. Obviously, the news today was the delistings, which featured Tom Scully and Kyle Marshall, which are two players that haven't featured for our AFL side, but then also Quinton Narkle, Francis Evans, and Big Tommy Cleary as well, which was one that a few years ago was a stalwart. Week in, week out for our defense, really up until some injury troubles. A smash draw against Western Bulldogs put him out for a while, and then some other niggling injuries. And once he was trying to come back, and there's a few people this year that maybe thought he should have called for him to come back when we've had some defensive troubles. But I mean, word on the street. Well, I mean, it was actually Dave Lloyd told me mid year, just that, and he did end up winning the best and fairest for our Sandful side, but.
Hmm.
He just said from his eye test, just watching him mid-year, it's just like he didn't quite think he had it to come in and be the effective Tom Cleary at the AFL side. So, but hopefully, maybe for his sake, he's leaving to look for, because I think he was contracted through next year.
Yes. Yeah,
So
he's
he's
foregoing a year on his contract.
to look for opportunities to hopefully
Yes.
play
Yeah.
AFL again, because when you look at the likes of, a defense has brought in, obviously Zerk Thatcher has become a huge part of it. Some of the young guys back there as well. And then, whatever we do with the Sava that's still a project in development. Maybe with whatever we do with him. So yeah, Cleary there's no room for him. And he's a great professional. We've loved him and I wish him all the best going forward. But yeah, it just really wasn't a space for him. For a player of his potential still, for helping as a maybe veteran leader and a defense that needs a player of his type. Just not for us. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he was one of those players, was one of those slow burn improvers. Like
mm,
same draft as Ollie Wines, country Vic boy as well. He just the slow progression in Tom Cleary, where he got himself to, I vividly remember a showdown performance, which a lot of people thought he potentially should have been the showdown medalist for the job that he did on Taylor Walker. I can't remember which year it was, maybe 2021 or 2022. And then ever since like that moment, he's just been cruelled with some unfortunate circumstances and some unfortunate injuries, most notably the broken jaw. I think it was against the Western Bulldogs that one year. And then, yeah, some back injuries where I think has led to his downfall at Port Adelaide in terms of the first side. It's nice that he, considering he's leaving, that he did win the best and fairest for our SANFL side. Just a little kind of parting gift. Not that it was a gift. He's certainly earned it. But yeah, a nice moment for him to remember because he's a life member at the club. It's worth noting as well for his tenure as a player. So yeah, he'll always, much like everyone that comes into Port Adelaide, in my opinion, he'll always be a Port Adelaide person. Once you're in, yeah, you're always welcome. And
I will caveat. There's a
absolutely
few,
for Tom Cleary.
like Troy Chapman, probably not, but
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a few.
There's exceptions to the rule. We're talking in a
Yeah.
broad sense.
No, I know. I just felt
Ben
like,
Jacobs can maybe not come back, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
no.
was being snarky, but overall, yeah, that is the kind of attitude I take. As long as you come in, apply yourself well, and don't leave under douchebaggy circumstances, then you're always welcome at the
I
port.
think it's a culture that our football club embodies.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah.
There's a lot of guys. I've not guys I've spoken to that have played for the club that aren't huge into sport like footy in general. They love the club still though because
Hmm.
it's like a place that made them feel it's just that's their club now. So yeah. The other two, obviously, Quinton Narkle and Francis Evans, are interesting ones.
Mm,
They've both played roles this year, and we've both enjoyed their roles at times this year and over the last couple of years. But Narkle, I think I actually saw you. I was just sitting there on Twitter before you actually jumped on the Zoom call, and I feel like I saw a tweet from you mentioning about
mm,
what you'd like to see maybe done with that. Because yeah, I understand the management decision at this moment because they're trying to open up list spots for drafting and whatnot. But yeah, Narkle's still clearly got something to offer an AFL side, and yeah, it would be interesting to see if they did try to finagle something to have him remain. But I'm not sure. I haven't read any news about where he might end up. But his spark
yeah,
off his
yeah.
spark as a sub this year was really nice at times, and there was that game that he had almost 10 disposals in basically a quarter of footy, and was maybe a couple of goals away from getting into.
Four behinds.
Yeah, that's the
In I
one.
think
Yeah.
it was, it was in a was it in a milestone game? I can't remember, but yeah, I commented on the Port Adelaide Football Club announcement, the
Mm,
post on Twitter. Just from my perspective, I thought Scully as a project player was tracking well from
mm,
what I thought. Um, he I can't remember what year it was, but it's 2022. We drafted McCallum, sorry, Scully and Kyle Marshall, and now they're all delisted. So they
yeah.
were all project players when we selected them. They were later draft picks that we could afford to draft project players in that at that point in time, or we kind of needed to
Mm,
in some respects. But yeah, I thought that Scully was tracking well. Tall, thin, like wiry players take a while to develop, is what we're always told.
mm,
So yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think again, Dave Lloyd, to plug him yet again, he put up on Facebook that we do have a lot of tall depth forward now, bringing in Lukosius and with Soldo
yeah.
inevitably staying. Uh, so it's probably led to that. My other point
Mm,
was that just like what you were saying, Narkle seemed to offer a good amount as a role player. Now, albeit, yeah, a lot of the time that was at sub, but I still thought that he was running both links of the field, which is the high half forward role, the unheralded role on a football field is making space and helping out defensively. I thought his kind of impact per possession, or it just looked he looked a bit more impactful than Evans to compare it to the other person that he
yeah.
got delisted with. Although Evans had his moments, yeah, I thought Narkle probably
There's a bit more depth.
elevated
There's a
himself
bit more
above, and
depth to Narkle's involvement.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And but the obvious thing is that Sam Pepper will come back in, and they wouldn't have traded for Joe Richards if they didn't expect to play him in round one.
Hmm.
From what I understand from a couple of people out in the atmosphere, is that we've got an NGA selection on the cards who is shows a bit as a small forward, or yeah, that fleet-footed small to medium forward
Hmm.
in Benny Barrett. So look, the squeeze for small forward options is there, but I would have thought that you'd still maybe keep one of those two delisted today. And keeping in mind that McEntie's still on the list, to much chagrin of a lot of people, I understand. But yeah, I just thought Narkle was probably a bit stiff
Yeah.
um,
The real
in that
yeah.
regard.
selection squeeze as far as list management goes, I guess, which is, yeah.
They've obviously got a few plans and they're creating room to facilitate that, and how that goes may determine whether one of these guys gets rookie listed.
Yeah. I think there's certainly Narkle will certainly find himself back onto an AFL list. I think he's shown enough that he should. There's teams out there that could certainly utilise him if it's not us.
He may keep going west and try and get, because that's where him, Sam Powell-Pepper, and Shea Bolton are from. So he's played a couple of years with SPP. Maybe he'll go and join Bolton at Fremantle.
Yeah.
But that's if he does go. We'll wait and see what happens after it's all said and done.
Yeah. Wish him all the best anyway. Certainly. Yeah. You're mentioning Tom Scully, because that was one that popped up a lot on Twitter this year when, obviously our forward line, I wouldn't say troubles, but there's trials and tribulations often in forward line selections at times this year, and Tom Scully's name popped up a lot with Port fans. And I think the only reason he really didn't get a look in it was because he is still raw, but there was a lot of people that saw him as not recognize that some of that development that happened this year. So it is an interesting one, but yeah, as you said, it's just we are laden with some higher end talent in some of those spots, and it's just some guys just miss out. So yeah, best wishes to them all, and that's just tough. That's the tough time of year. It happens in all sports.
It is.
These things happen. So that's about it, I think. I don't think there's anything else that I've missed. Is there anything else that I've missed that you've got on your list at all that news this week that we need to touch on, or
no.
Are we good?
No, I don't think so. Just do a quick scan. I think we're good to go.
Yeah.
I think this has been a good episode.
Yeah.
And I'll let you cap her off.
Yeah. Nothing more to say apart from just, get around the goals in the away game this week, obviously. And a lot of people can't get there being on the Gold Coast. But if you happen to be on the Gold Coast, go. Get some noise out there for them. They definitely deserve it. And again, a shout out to mention that, 3rd November, Sunday afternoon footy at Alberton. Get down there, support them, get around them, get around the Indigenous kit designed by Jasmine Stewart. Get around Hannah Dunn, being a new mother, and just shout out to her for that. That's about it. Looking forward to. It's really fun that we've had 4 wins in a row, AFLW reviews, and really just want to stamp home just how great that is that we've 4 wins in a row, but 5 on the season. The development this year has been really pleasing and fun, and just to keep getting around them and enjoy it, because as I know Dave Lloyd keeps tweeting it, and we've we insinuated a lot in this podcast. Get on board now, because it's part of the fun journey of it is watching the development in real time. It's going to be fun. Like, if more people keep coming on board in later years, great. Like, I encourage you, whenever you do get on board. But I think part of the unique part of this first couple of years is going to be real, and I'm going to look back in years to come and really just enjoy being a part of it now. So get on board. I'm sure if you're listening now anyway, you probably are. But really, really enjoying it. Nothing more to say. Calm the Lady Pear.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Go Port.